Hello everyone, I'm Broffy1322 and in this video I'm going to be showing the fastest fully upgraded sedans around a circuit and the best cars to use for races. For the full story about what I did, check the annotation on the screen or the link in the description for the intro video, but otherwise let's get straight into it. So there are 19 cars in the sedans class, that's joint second with the SUVs, just behind the sports class as the most cars in a class. And right at the back of the sedans is the Regina. This is one of the slowest cars in the entire game, even when fully upgraded. It's hopeless really. So in 18th place we have the Emperor, which isn't that much better, but 5 seconds. 5 seconds is the difference over a lap. The Emperor is very, very slow, but a 5 second difference is quite a lot. But yeah, not that great. So just ahead of that, in 17th is the Ingot. Now the Ingot is just the same old story again, really, a 1 minute 25.9, nothing that special, on the same sort of pace as the Tornado from the Sports Classics class. In 16th place we have the Romero Hearse, so even though we have a Hearse in the game, it isn't the slowest sedan. With a 125.6, it does reasonably well to get up into that spot, again on that same sort of pace as the bottom Sports Classics. In 15th we have the Glendale. Bit of a disappointment to see the Glendale all the way down here, but its main aspect isn't really racing, I guess you could say. But it does take a big jump in lap time to get that 1 minute 17, so we've seen a massive jump from the bottom 4 cars. In 14th place is the Super Diamond. Now the Super Diamond has really good top speed, but with a 1 minute 16.7 it isn't going to do very well around a track. It's just too big and doesn't have the traction, but if you have a long highway race, the Super Diamond is the one to choose. Just ahead of the Super Diamond is its exact opposite, which is the Surge. Now the Surge has excellent acceleration, reasonably okay traction, but nothing in the way of top speed. So they're basically the opposite of the Super Diamond, but it shows how sort of balanced they are on a regular track, that they get similar speeds. In 12th place we have the Premier. Now the Premier gets a 1 minute 16.3, only just ahead of what we've seen from the Surge, and it feels reasonably good in the corners. It's not too bad for a front wheel drive car. And just ahead of that is another front wheel drive car with the Acia in 11th place. This gets a 116.2, so only a tenth of a second quicker than the Premier. And in this section of the video you are going to see a lot of cars that do have very similar lap times. So just ahead of this, that is the Stratum in 10th place. This has 4-wheel drive, but it just doesn't have the power really or the traction in the corners. It's quite good off-road, and it's certainly quite well balanced, but it just doesn't have the power to make it in this sedans class very well. But with a 1 minute 16.0, it's only a very short amount better than what we've just seen. And as I said, a lot of the cars around this area will have that similar sort of lap time. So in 9th place, just ahead of that, is the Stania. Now the Stania has very good traction, and that allows it to get that 1 minute 14.9, which is a good second ahead of the Stratum there. And basically you can carry a lot of speed around the corners, and that is characteristic of a lot of the sedans in the game. In general, sedans have more traction than they really need, so they don't really have the power to utilize all of the traction that they have, but they will go around corners very quickly compared to some other classes. So in 8th place is the Asterope. Again, the same sort of story, a 1 minute 14.4, quite good in the corners. A lot of these sedans don't have spoilers available to them, frankly because they don't need them anyway. I mean, if some of these had spoilers, you'd probably just be able to go around a track holding down the accelerator all of the time. Just that's how much traction they have and how little power they have. But yeah, 8th place there for the Asterope, not a bad showing. And just ahead of that in 7th place is the Washington. Again, the same old story as the sort of the Stania as well. A lot of traction, really good around the corners. You can carry a lot of speed around the corners, just lacking that overall power, acceleration and top speed really that puts it up into the higher tier. But again, considering we've got 19 cars in the class, not too bad to see these cars in the top 10 sort of take that lap time a step further, and really sort of show what they can do. So in 6th place we have the Warrener. The Warrener does a little bit better than its DLC friend the Glendale. It does have a lot more power. Now, unlike all of the other sedans, the Warrener's weakness really is in turning. It does have a decent amount of traction, but it can sort of oversteer on you quite easily. And I do believe it's quite a good car for drifting as well. But if you can handle the Warrener, that 1 minute 14.0 that it gets isn't too far off the pace, and it will certainly, the spoiler certainly helps it in the corners as well, so it's not too bad. Now in 5th place, just ahead of the Warrener, is the Primo. The Primo is a very, very balanced car. It feels very nice. The spoiler obviously helps it in terms of the traction as well. First car to break into that 1:13 barrier, but not too far ahead of the Warrener. It doesn't have the ultimate acceleration and power of the top cars, but the power that it does have makes it a very nicely balanced car around the corners, makes it a very consistent car as well. So not too bad there from the Primo. In 4th place, we have the Intruder. We're starting to get into the serious lap times for the sedans now. The Intruder has a spoiler available to it, so it gets good traction around the corners. It is quite big, it is quite bulky, but it will do very well in a race. With a 1:13.6, it's got some good power behind it as well to utilise the traction that it does have. It doesn't have as much traction as some of the other cars, but it has a bit more power, so it's certainly a good option. In 3rd place is the Fugitive. Now the Fugitive just manages to get ahead of the Intruder in 3rd place. With a 1:13.5, it's only 1/10 of a second quicker. Now the Fugitive is a very, very good car. If it had a spoiler available to it, I really do think that it would be challenging for those top spots. But the problem with it is that it just doesn't have the traction that some of the other sedans have. And the lack of a spoiler means that when you fully upgrade all of the other cars, some of the other cars tend to catch it up. When it's stock, the Fugitive is a reasonably good option because it does have a good amount of traction compared to the others without the spoiler, but it does lack from not having that spoiler. Otherwise though, it is still a very quick car and it's very good. So now in 2nd place we have the Tailgater. The Tailgater does get a reasonable gap over the Fugitive with a 1:12.149, so taking a good chunk of lap time there out of what the Fugitive managed. And the Tailgater really is basically the epitome of what I was saying earlier. It has more traction than it ever is going to need. You can pretty much never need to brake around any corner unless it's quite tight, just because it has so much traction to carry it around, and it just lacks that power really. So the Tailgater is a very, very quick car in the corners, probably the quickest in the class. It just lacks that overall power to give it those top spots. So it will do very well, especially on tight twisty tracks, but overall it doesn't have the speed. So in 1st place we have the Shafter. Now the Shafter is dominant, completely and utterly dominant in this class. As you can see there, a 1:10.8, it absolutely destroys everything in the class. It destroys the Tailgater. It's the only sedan that has kind of enough traction and enough power to make it all work together. So whereas most of the sedans tend to have too much traction and not enough power, the Shafter will have a little bit less traction than what some of them have, but it has a lot more power. It has really, really good acceleration, very, very good top speed, almost rivaling the Super Diamond in terms of top speed, and it just puts it all together as a whole package to be the best. It certainly doesn't have the best traction in the class or the best top speed. As I said, that was the Super Diamond, but it just, as a package, it is the best car. It puts it all together perfectly, and it is completely dominant in this class. As long as you can drive it, as long as you can get the most out of it, the Shafter will be the one to use in the sedans class, and you will be significantly off the pace if you don't use one in a high level race. Having said that, the top 5 or 6 cars you could use in random races as well and still be reasonably on the pace and do well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I hope it helps you in terms of choosing a sedan for racing. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and leave all your comments down below as well about what you thought about this and what car you use for the sedan races as well. Also, if you want to see future episodes of the series, be sure to subscribe. I do put these out regularly, and also you can check the links in the description to go and see previous episodes as well. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.